Hi everybody, good morning. This is Mo Chowdhury. I just thought I'd give a little bit of prelude to a video that I recorded last night, and it is all about a different perspective of cyber crisis and how we actually deal with the cyber crisis and the different changes in terms of how we could actually look from different perspective in terms of cyber crisis. Apologies, Benji is behind me. He's probably making some noise. Um, that particular video I'm talking about is a little bit longer than normal, but it will give you a little bit of different perspective about the norm of the cyber crisis management and the different types of matrices that we actually, operational matrices that we actually consider. So that particular video is a little bit longer. It is a combination of many projects I've been, and also my own observations and opinion is there. So it'd be really good to get some of your thoughts. But I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Hi everybody, this is Mo Chowdhury again. This particular video, I think it's going to be slightly longer than the other one, but I really wanted to discuss this subject for a couple of days, and I think it is a very interesting one. Hear me out. Let me ask you a question. Now, if your organization suffers a major cyber attack tomorrow, what is the first metric you would look at? Most people would say how many systems are affected, how quickly can we contain attack, how long did it take to detect. Those are important. I really understand they're very, very important metrics. But what if I told you that during a true crisis, none of these are actually the most important metric? The metric that matters most is something the organization formally measure. How quickly can we restore the minimum viable services? Or put another way, how quickly can we reboot the minimum viable company? The reason I say it, when I work across critical infrastructure sectors such as energy, utilities, transport, mining, government, and financial services, I often see a common pattern. Cybersecurity metrics are heavily focused on operational performance. We measure mean time to detect, mean time to respond, mean time to contain, vulnerability counts, patch compliance, security control maturity. These are all valuable metrics. But when a major disruption occurs, executives are not asking about vulnerability count. They are asking, can we continue operating? Can we serve our customers? Can we keep our SLA? Can we maintain safety? Can we meet regulatory obligations? Can we continue generating revenue? In other words, the business is focused on sustaining critical services. And these critical services are basically maintaining a company's real objective, business objective. This is why the concept of minimum viable services becomes very, very important. Every organization has services that absolutely must continue during a crisis. For a utility company, it might be maintaining a water treatment operations. For an energy provider, it might be maintaining a grid stability. For a transport operator, it might be maintaining passenger safety and movement. For a mining company, it might be maintaining operational safety and environmental controls. For government, it might be maintaining essential citizen services. The reality is that not every application, system, process, or piece of data has equal importance. The question becomes, what is the minimum set of services required to keep the organization alive? Because during a crisis, perfection is not the objective, survival is. I believe we need to evolve the way we think about cyber resilience metrics. Instead of asking how quickly did we contain the attack, we should also ask how quickly can we restore critical services? Which critical services are currently unrecoverable? How many business objectives can still be achieved during disruption? What percentage of our minimum viable services can operate in degraded model or mode? How often have we actually tested these recovery assumptions? These are resilience metrics, these are business metrics, and increasingly these are board metrics. The interesting thing is that many organizations have already done some of this work. business impact assessment, critical service mapping, recovery time objective, recovery point objective, minimum tolerable downtime, CPS 230, critical operations, NIST 2 assess essential services, operational resilience frameworks. The problem isn't necessarily that the work doesn't exist. The problem is that the work often lives in a separate silos. Cybersecurity owns incident response, technology owns disaster recovery, business owns continuity planning, risk owns resilience, and nobody is looking at the whole picture. A crisis doesn't care about organizational charts. A crisis only cares whether the service can still operate. This is why resilience is ultimately a leadership discussion. Boards don't exist to ensure every server stays online. Boards exist to ensure the organization can continue fulfilling its purposes and business objectives. That means understanding which services matters most, which dependencies support those services we are talking about, what happens when those dependencies fail, how quickly those services can be restored. The conversation shifts from how secure are we to how operationally resilient are we. That's a fundamentally different discussion. The next time you're reviewing cyber metrics, ask yourself one single question. If our most critical system disappeared today, how long would it take to restore the minimum viable services for our stakeholders? And how long would it take to restore the minimum viable services required to achieve our business objectives? I'm bringing that business objective back into the main conversation because resilience is not measured by how well we prevent disruption. Resilience is measured by how effectively we sustain and restore the services that matter most when disruption inevitably occurs. Perhaps the future of cybersecurity metrics isn't simply time to detect or time to contain. Perhaps it is time to restore the minimum viable services. We have spent years measuring cyber resilience through operational metrics, time to detect, time to respond, time to contain. But during a true crisis, executives ask a different question and should ask a different question in my case. Can we still deliver our critical services? The future of resilience may not be about measuring attacks. It may be about measuring how quickly we can restore the minimum viable services for our stakeholders and continue delivering business outcomes under pressure. Cybersecurity protects the organization and resilience sustain it. Essentially, I really like you to think about it within your organization, maybe put some comments, how you think the way the patterns are changing. And there are a lot of nuances at the moment with the adoption of AI and the way the AI curves happening in technology world. So we'll be really keen to get some of your thoughts into it. So thank you very much for your time and we'll catch up again soon. Thank you.